From Chuck driving away on a golf cart after getting ejected, to Pat Bev bringing a camera on court to prove LeBron's innocence, here are the most hilarious moments in the NBA. It's fun league to follow, especially when you look at how heated moments, like Chuck's ejection in 1993, often end up becoming meme material and fun stories that everyone remembers. Barkley may be one of the funniest NBA analysts on air, but back in his day, he was an elite baller too. Unfortunately, more often than not, his anger issues got the better of him, and that led to plenty of ejections and technical. One night, playing against the New York Knicks in '93, Barkley got into bickering contest with the referees over a stupid call, and as you'd expect, he was ejected ASAP. The shocking bit was hardly the ejection. It was his iconic reaction. Instead of hitting the showers early, Chuck saw a golf cart close by, got on it, and drove away within seconds. Yeah, he really did that. And to this day, it's remembered as one of the most memorable moments in the league's history. But how about one that even the newest NBA fans remember? Sorry, Bron fam, I need to bring this one up. The time J.R. Smith had a brain fart mid-game, because he probably smoked up one too many times before the game. Before I get into it, I just need to say that this was the worst time to phase out, because it was Game 1 of the 2018 NBA Finals against a Golden State super team, with Smith playing for a Cavaliers team which needed all the help they could get. The Cavs were up by 2 points with seconds left when Smith got the rebound and dribbled out the clock. My goodness, that LeBron expression, I'm sure you've seen it become an NBA meme as it went viral immediately. The King couldn't believe what his teammate had done, as Smith thought the Cavs were up by 3 instead of 2 points. Moments later, JR's night got considerably worse as the Warriors would force overtime, go on to win Game 1 before sweeping the Bron-led Cavs in the finals. What could have been if Smith hadn't dribbled out the clock, and if Cleveland had won Game 1? Could the series have turned out differently? I guess we'll never know. You can say the same about the ceiling of the 2022-23 Warriors. If Draymond Green hadn't socked the life out of Jordan Poole before the season began, imagine it. The defending champs were all set to be the best team in the 2022-23 campaign and were the heavy favorites to go back-to-back. Unfortunately, before the first game of their defending season got underway, the Warriors had a major incident in training. It's still not clear what JP said to Dre, but for the sake of this video, let's run away with what most insiders reported. It was something along the lines of Poole landing a contract on his own terms with the franchise, while Green wasn't even offered one, and JP made the mistake of rubbing it in. Not one to take a joke, the four-time champ threw a monster punch at his teammate, creating a different timeline in the multiverse, where the Warriors would go on to have a terrible season, with Steve Kerr claiming the incident was the toughest to manage in his entire career. Maybe he's blocked out the memory of Michael Jordan punching him in training. Either way, Kerr blamed the punch for the Warriors' woes that season, and while a punch is nothing to laugh about, no, we ain't doing that, it is very funny. And what makes the entire incident even more hilarious is the manner with which JP exited the franchise only one summer later, with Green still with the team. That's still not the worst thing in Poole's life, though, as the man's plying his trade for the Washington Wizards. So every time you think you've got it tough, just remember the time Poole bragged about his new contract, got punched, and then shipped out by the franchise only a year later to play for the Wizards. Enjoyed that? I'll do you one better with the legendary example of a certain DeRozan stealing the show against the Toronto Raptors. No, I'm not talking about DeMar DeRozan, who was actually the only DeRozan on the court in the 2023 play-in game against the Raptors. Yet it was his daughter who helped the Bulls to a famous win. Not only did she help her father's team win their crucial play-in game against Toronto, but also became the MVP of the match for Chicago, coming up clutch with her ear-splitting screams from the court-side seats. That's right, folks. This may sound bizarre, but boy was it effective. Her game plan was pretty simple. Scream as soon as the Raptors players get set to take their free throws, because the entire arena would be silent as the game was taking place in Toronto. Funnily enough, she was the only person screaming at the top of her lungs when the Raptors made their free throws. And that ended up being a tough thing to deal with for the Raptors, who go on to miss 50% of their attempted free throws. Yeah, they only converted 18 of 36, and in a game, they lost by only 5 points. You can't help but feel this was an all-timer performance in a knockout NBA game by her, something no other Bull has done since MJ. Zach's 39-point display was good, but not quite. Talking about free throws, who can possibly overlook Grant Williams' promise against the Cavaliers in March 23rd? In a really fun Eastern Conference clash, the Celtics took on the Cavaliers in Cleveland, and the game was way too close to call. Right at the end, Williams got the chance to win the game from the line. All he needed was to make one of 2 free throws. Before taking his place on the line, he made sure to reverse trash talk Cavs' Donovan Mitchell, repeatedly saying the same thing. I'm gonna make both. I'm gonna make both. You know what's coming next, right? Yep, guys, Grant missed both times. Oh, and the Cavs won by 4 in overtime. Nah, sometimes I feel the NBA scriptwriters do it on purpose. And I'm here for it, because this is pure entertainment. How else could you possibly explain the best player of the 2023 season, Nikola Jokic, almost going unpicked in the All-Star game in 23?
You're the Finals MVP. How close do you feel like you are to your personal peak, to the best player that you can possibly be?
I really don't know. I think I can be much better, but you need to still sacrifice yourself. But basketball is not the main thing in my life. It's something that I'm good at. I'm just happy that as a team.
Who here remembers the 2023 NBA All-Star Draft? The draft is almost always fun, but in 2023, it had a little extra for the fans. You see, as good as Nikola is, he doesn't really offer the X factor in All-Star games, because that man doesn't care about exhibitions. Heck, he doesn't care about actual awards, let alone ASGs. Anyway, the drafting for the All-Star game is done with 2 captains picking a player each, and there are worse things than being the last pick on the All-Star draft, but Jokic wasn't having any of it. With 2 players left, Lauri Markkanen and himself, the Joker took matters into his own hands, getting up before LeBron had picked him and forcing him to take him in his team. It was utterly hilarious, especially when you consider how dominant Jokic was for the remainder of the campaign, ironically destroying LeBron's Lakers 4-0 to help the Denver Nuggets win their first NBA championship. Somehow, LeBron and Giannis decided he wasn't good enough to be one of the early picks, but it was a funny moment rather than a disrespectful one. So, all's well that ends well. Something that didn't end well for Bron that season was the Lakers' regular season game at home against the Boston Celtics, with the LA side losing to a really bad call right at the end of the game. This deserves to be at number 1, purely because of LeBron's reaction and the way Patrick Beverley brought an actual camera on the court showing the footage of the incident to the referees, telling them they'd gotten it horribly wrong, was so much fun. Before I get to that, let me explain what happened. LeBron was fouled at the last play of the game, attempting a layup, and while he missed, replays showed Jason Tatum smacked his hand at the crucial point of release. It was an obvious foul, but the refs weren't having any of it, and the 20-year veteran acted like a 4-year-old throwing a freaking tantrum outside Toys R Us. He jumped up and down, held his hands on his head, fell to his knees on the hardwood, all that for the refs to say, "Grow up." As funny as LeBron's reaction was, NBA Twitter had a field day with Pat Bev, who ran off court to grab a camera, which had footage of the incident. To prove LeBron's point, it all came to nothing though, with the refs not listening to them and the Lakers losing the game at home to their rivals. But at least Bron came away with another meme material footage. So, from Pat Bev bringing a camera to prove LeBron's innocence after a foul wasn't given, to Chuck driving away on a golf cart after getting ejected, these were the most hilarious moments in the NBA.